Hello, this is David Flanders from the OpenStack Foundation. Today I am here with Peter. Peter is from CityCloud or City Network. I know you've got a couple of handles on it. First introduce and say who you are, Peter, then let's talk about the OpenStack data center or the, obviously, CityCloud, who you represent.
Yeah, like Flanders just said, my name is Peter. I work as a support technician at City Network, which is the company name. We're a Swedish company and is based in the southern part of Sweden, called Karlskrona. And we have a service that is called CityCloud, and that is based on OpenStack.
Excellent. And so, CityCloud, how long have you guys been around? How long you've been doing data center-y type stuff?
Well, data center-y type stuff, I think we have been doing since like 2009. But with the OpenStack touch, it has been since 2015, actually. We launched the first OpenStack-based data center here in Karlskrona and in Stockholm and in London. We have a legacy platform built on something called ECP that we used before that, and then we switched over to OpenStack. Between 2009 and 2015, or somewhere between there, we developed our own REST API and built our own control panel, basically. And that was launched at March 2015.
Excellent. So you guys have been very busy, I'm sure, from the sounds of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Peter, do you want to hop into your console and well, let's have a look at where we actually can find CityCloud. If I Google for CityCloud, where can I find it, Peter?
Yeah. Let me just switch here. There we go. You Google for CityCloud, and you will end up at citycloud.com, where you will find our main page. You will find some different information about the service and what we offer, and we'll also have some blog entries that we offer some tips and tricks and how to best get your value out of OpenStack. And when you've done this, you will easily just click sign up and enter your country of origin and type in your email address, and you will get a email to set up your account. Add your company information or your personal information and stuff like that. And when you're done with that, you will end up at the login page, which is citycontrolpanel.com. And here.
So what's kind of cool about this, of course, is I've noticed right away that you guys are you've built your own interface. So for OpenStackers out there, this isn't your typical Horizon interface. So what have you guys built on the front end there to be able to manage OpenStack?
I don't have the correct answers for that because I haven't been a part of that development phase, actually.
No worries. So. That's a tough question. I shouldn't throw them in willy-nilly.
Yeah. No, I wish I could answer it more, but it's basically custom-built interface.
No worries. Cool. We'll touch on it later. So walk us through. So obviously, what we're kind of doing today is, and go ahead and start putting in your username and password, Peter, is we're obviously looking about how you can control CityCloud from Shade, which is a service development kit, an SDK or an API of sorts, that allows you to control CityCloud without necessarily having to use the interface like we're using right now. What's cool about it especially is that it allows you to control multiple OpenStack data centers all through a common set of calls and APIs. So Peter's going to show us today how you can do that with CityCloud. And CityCloud, like most OpenStacks, are set up very much to be able to optimize the technology and the infrastructure which these data centers have. So I'm really looking forward today to hearing more about what CityCloud has to offer in terms of being a unique data center. So What are we looking at now, Peter? It looks like a very cool looking dashboard.
Yeah, this is the first page that you will see when you log in, and to your left here you will have some menu showing off different functions that you will use. You have your servers and all that's connected to servers, how you create them, how you list them, images, private images that you can upload, and your own custom images. I mean. You have your snapshot functions, you have your security group, key pairs, and of course we also have the legacy version, the generation 1 servers for those customers that has this service available. It is not
definitely looks like an OpenStack cloud there, but it does have a nicer shine to it. I must admit it does. I like what you guys have done. It looks good.
Yeah. I mean, it's I've looked at Horizon and it probably has its advantages as well, but I think this is a little bit more user friendly if you ask me. But then again, I work at this company that built it, so
of course. Yeah. Okay, so you put your login details. I guess we're going to dive right in. So if I want to get going with controlling some servers inside of CityCloud, what do I need to start doing? Are we going to look at it first from the dashboard, or are we going to dive right into what the code looks like?
Well, we can have a quick look at the dashboard. It's not that very difficult to get. You have your create servers, you have your different types of managing servers, and
so we can see right away all the data centers you guys have got. That's nice. So we got Sweden, a couple in Sweden, one in the UK, 2 in the US, and 1 in Germany. So good expanse.
Exactly. Yeah, we have at the moment we have 6 active data centers, 4 in Europe and 2 in the US, and we also plan to launch one in Tokyo. Actually, that is on the roadmap so far.
Yeah, fantastic.
And
so you
can also
excellent.
Yeah, you can also actively select which zones you want to be shown off here in the dashboard by just clicking which active zones you want.
Very nice. And of course, we're going to get into this more because, of course, you guys are using a single keystone, which is the authentication method for all those data centers. Is that right?
Exactly. That it presents its advantages mostly when you work in the interface here in the control panel, but also I can imagine for using it in Shade and all. It's basically separated on region.
Cool.
That's how you
I'm really looking forward to seeing how this manifests in kind of a cloud.yaml file.
Yeah.
Okay, so dashboard makes sense. We can, select our images, launch those in different data centers around the world. What does that start to look like in terms of actually happening?
You mean by creating a server?
Well, what do you want to do next, Peter? Are we going to look at the code, or do you want to try to show it from the dashboard, or what would be your preference to kind of set up your Shade code?
Well, my next step here would be to actually just show you guys because there's some differences in the city control and the native OpenStack API settings because your user that you have in the control panel isn't the one that you will use when you use Shade. So the first thing when using Shade is that you actually have to go down here to the API part and click native OpenStack API. And you have to create your user. That is a very important step.
I see. Okay. Oh, and that's nice to see that you guys have additional APIs as well. That's not a feature you normally see in Horizon. So that's cool to see those different APIs available to application developers.
Yeah, exactly. And you also have you can create your user, and you also have all the endpoints for all the zones listed. If I do a quick,
I really like that. Yeah, it's great because it shows that you guys can be interoperable with the rest of the world, but at the same time you can provide that value add for what your data center can do special with regards to which services you build out. That's very cool.
exactly. Creating the user isn't very hard. You just click create user up here, and you basically type in the zones, username, password, and also which projects or tenants that you want this user to have access to. So you can also have different users for different tenants. Basically, if you're a really big operation, if you're a really big company, I mean, you might have different types of projects going on in that company, different applications that need to be developed, or environments that need to be set up, and you can have different projects for that, or different tenants if you want to go with the OpenStack.
And I know CityCloud has got some very big, important customers that like their security. So I doubt you guys can talk about them, but obviously it makes sense here why you have this kind of security control.
Yeah, we are one of the few companies in Sweden, and I think also in Europe, that meet the requirements that the bank and finance and insurance world live by. So.
And that's some of the kind of EU laws around safe harbor, let alone all the kind of, as you say, banks have very high security requirements in regards to how they're rated in terms of their security. So you guys have to meet those to be able to maintain your customers. Yeah,
we actually have to be better than that. But that also, we have, if you want to look at the clouds, we actually have two types of clouds. We have the public cloud and we have the compliant cloud. So we have two different clouds for that.
Oh, okay. Yep. Cool. All right. So we've got our user that you've created. We found the API that is native to OpenStack, which of course is the Shade API. What's next?
Next is we have a look at our clouds.yaml file, and I'll just switch screen here.
Hello.
Hello. There we go. And
so we've now obviously switched into what IDE you're using. This is always something developers love to talk about. It's not Vim. Is it Nano?
No, actually, it's not. My operating system on my computer is Linux Mint, and the editor here is Sublime.
Oh yeah, Sublime. Yeah, fantastic editor. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. So I'm using that one.
It's got nice highlighting, I feel. I've always liked Sublime's highlighting. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm not using a terminal, in that case I'm using Vim. I'm using Sublime.
You've got the Vim hand, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so talk us through. This first file is a clouds.yaml file. So, and Peter, we were having a nice little chat before this about how you've kind of come from sysadmin background, let alone other backgrounds. And obviously, so as you encountered clouds.yaml, especially the library which processes this, which is called OS Cloud Config or OpenStack Cloud Config, how did clouds.yaml make sense to you, or how did you make sense of clouds.yaml and what it was?
Well, I must admit that it was a bit of a challenge in the beginning, trying to figure out. But I mean, it's like they say, Google is your friend, and after some trial and errors, I got it working, and I now see the sense of it and the logic behind it. So I mean, it feels really logical. To be honest, the thing that was somewhat of a tricky part to figuring out was just this part with the fact that we only have one keystone, and we're separating it on the region. So where do we get this part in?
Excellent. So that starts us right up at the top. So obviously the clouds.yaml file, you can put multiple clouds in here, you know, so you could have listing all the OpenStack clouds, for example. But the first thing you've got to do at the top of the outline, if you will, is obviously label CityCloud, and you are able to register yourself with the Shade developers to be a registered cloud with Shade, so that it has some features. I know you guys have been kind of working on that, but obviously right up at the top there is CityCloud. So what's next? Region name. What does region name mean to you, Peter?
Region name is basically the different data centers that we have. LAN 1 is London. We have for Karlskrona, for instance, it would have been instead KNA 1. We have Buffalo and LA and Frankfurt, if you want that one. So basically, you switch here, or you can add more.
To find out what the names of those data centers are, is there something I Google, or where do I go in the dashboard, or what would I do to find those out?
If we quickly jump back, hello again, to the dashboard, and we go to the where we found that and created our native API user, you will see down here where we list all the endpoints. Yes. You will have all this different here.
Excellent. Cool. Makes perfect sense to me. Yep. So cloud. Then back at clouds.yaml, once I say which data center I want to control, obviously you guys work that out on the API end, but I can then start controlling that data center with the clouds.yaml. So then I'm into my authentication. So this is where we're obviously talking to Keystone. So walk us through that, Peter.
Yeah, well, we use the version 3 Keystone, which I also understand is somewhat unique. I think most people use version 2. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nah, you're ahead of the curve there. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah. So basically, what you need to add is your username that for the user you created, your password, and I see I need to change mine after this. You will
as we always do in these videos.
Exactly. You will add your tenant ID or your project ID. You can have these both, I guess. I'm using it because if you want to run the native clients, Python, Cinder, and Python Nova, and all these, we add both the tenant ID and project ID. You have and we have the auth URL that you will also find in the native OpenStack API page.
Yeah, and so that's the endpoint that goes to your common keystone, and then obviously when you submit commands, your keystone will parse out the fact that these calls go to different data centers.
Yes, exactly.
And obviously different project and tenants as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And last part is the user domain ID that you need to add your auth file.
And so where do you find the user domain ID inside the dashboard there?
Switching back, it's actually located just at the top here. You will have your domain ID.
Yes, of course, because we created that right when we got going. Yeah.
Yeah, this is created. This is actually created when you create your account. So this is basically you can say the account. And then you have the different tenant IDs for the different projects that you can have up here.
Yeah, cool. Got it. Makes sense. So I've now got my clouds.yaml, and of course, at some future date, we probably could do something cool like copy and paste that bit of code and then add in Sweden and LA and Tokyo and all the rest of it if we wanted to control multiple data centers under CityCloud. But we're going to keep it simple today, yeah?
Simple is always the best, if you ask me.
Agreed, especially when we're trying to get people to use this stuff. Okay, so obviously to operate this, you have to have a library to process it for your cloud, and that library is OS Cloud Config, which people can obviously just Google for and found OS Cloud Config. How did you find that, Peter? Were you able to get that accessing and working okay?
Yeah, I basically just installed it on my computer, and wasn't hard in any way.
Should we have a go of pinging it, or what's the next thing you want to do? Do you want to move right into the Shade example, or do you want to prove that your clouds.yaml file works? I'm sure it does, so you just tested it, but up to you.
Well, I mean, we can just basically run this shade test file here, and
well, let's walk me through the shade file first, because I trust you, of course, when it comes to it working. So let's talk through the shade file. So obviously, clouds.yaml represents how we're authenticating to one or more clouds. And now, of course, Shade gives us the ability to say what we want those data centers to do via their different resources. So what have you started to do in your Shade test file?
Well, basically, I'm importing Shade into this Shade test file, and then I'm getting the authentication info here, I guess, from the clouds.yaml file. And last part is actually just showing off a server. But I realize now that that is one of the servers that I did create before when I was testing, so I might actually need to change that ID there of the server that I have in this case.
No worry. So obviously the first command you're doing, the cloud.equals shade.openstack_cloud, that's obviously calling your clouds.yaml file. Is that right?
Yeah, as I understand it, yeah.
Yep, because you've got, obviously, if we go back to clouds.yaml, we'll see cloud equals CityCloud, and there's CityCloud right up top there. So there's it's grabbing the Shade obviously asks and works in partnership with OS Cloud Config to say, hey, which cloud should I be working on? It grabs those authentication deals, then back in shade_test.py, it's obviously invoking that. So the first thing you're doing with server is you're doing, I guess, what is the simplest idea in the world, which is just say, hey, CityCloud, can I please get a cloud? So cloud.getServer couldn't be an easier command. And then what's that UUID you're passing in? Is that the server type or the user ID? Or talk me through what that UUID means, Peter.
That is actually the UID of a creator's server in this case. I have here.
Yep. Oh, sorry. So yeah, it's not a create. It's sorry, I'm reading the code wrong. It's a get. It's not a create. So you're just getting an existing server. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just showing some information about the server itself. You can have from the beginning, I gotten some image information that I could get.
Excellent. So yeah, let's do some running of code. It's always fun to see code run.
Yeah. I'm just gonna do. Let's see here, and I'm gonna close that one. Let's open that one, and I will switch my screen here to. Let's see here. It should be that one.
One of the nice things, obviously, with Shade is that there's obviously different ways of when you do run code. It can be verbose or not verbose, which is a great way to kind of know what is happening. And as a developer, you always love to have nice error handling because things like to fail, and if they're able to fail a little bit gracefully, that's always nice. Excellent. So we've got your command line up.
Yep.
Go for it, Peter.
Yeah. So basically, if we're gonna test that shed test file there, just run it by Python shed test.py and get the result.
Excellent. So walk us through what you feel those mean, Peter, and because this is always good just to kind of understand what the print of the actual what it's actually told us. Obviously, you've been a success. Congratulations, 2 points.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, actually, now I see it, and when I see the result here, I actually see that that was the network that we actually have created for you as a user by default. It's called as well default. When you create your account, you will have a working network actually, so you don't have to set up the network part, security groups, and all that
Which is exactly what a developer wants. They just want to be able to say, hey, get me a server, please return me a public IP so I can actually start pinging the thing and seeing if it actually works. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually the default network, and all the subnet that you see here, that's for it, and the status, the router, and connections, and of course in the end the UUID of the network.
Brilliant. So that all works. What else you got for us, Peter?
Well, next step here is, of course, you want to have a. Let me just switch here. It's always fun to know what you have, but you probably want to do something as well. I mean, if you're an application developer, you need to use some sort of server to run your application from. So first of all,
gotta have a server for an app. That's for sure.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Haven't found one app that doesn't need a server to run from yet.
Quantum computing waiting, of course.
Exactly. So this port here is actually just as it says up here, the file name create server. You will create a basic server using Shade, and we will of course import Shade as in the test file, and we will call the Clouds YAML file here like in the test file. But we will also add some other information about when we create our server, which is down here. We will add some information about which image we shall use, and in our data centers around the world, we will of course have different UUIDs for the images. We of course have the same.
So you can just hop on the dashboard there, and you can have a look of which images. I know I saw that anyways. You guys had the full set of Linux images. What other supported images do you guys do for operating systems or flavors?
Well, when it comes to the images, we basically try and offer the most common, most wanted one. We have the latest Ubuntu, try and have the latest Debian images, one or two versions of them. We have Core OS, OpenSUSE, CentOS, of course, in the Linux family. And we also offer 3 different types of Windows images. Really? Windows. Yeah,
enterprise people always like that. There's plenty of real users in the world who use Windows.
Exactly. So we basically have one default image based on the 2012 Datacenter R2 operating system, and then we have 2 images with that adds MS SQL, Microsoft SQL Server to it, and that is in the standard and enterprise version.
Cool. And so obviously I can go to your dashboard and look those up and get the UUID for each of those. And again, Shade's quite nice sometimes to just operate with the UUIDs. So, and then obviously you've left, it looks like you've left a comment in there to know which kind of flavor. And then what's this, what's the next thing? So you've got your key name, key pair there. You want to talk to me about how you think about key pairs, Peter?
Well, key pairs is for me like my key pass application. It's basically the lifeline to get stuff working and to be able to access the servers. Without a key pair, you have to remember passwords, and you will have to remember them for probably quite some time. And I don't know about everybody else, but sometimes my memory is like a goldfish. So
you and me both. Too many passwords in the world. Couldn't live without key pairs. But of course, the difference between the key pairs and the clouds.yaml is the key pair is very much for controlling that specific server. Not that you can't use the same key pair with multiple servers if you so choose.
Exactly. You basically need to create your own key pair. In this case, I actually already have one created in my account, so that's why I'm using the cloud.get key pair. We can quickly just switch back to the dashboard, and I will show you that you will find under servers and key pairs, you will find your key pairs, and you will have to add them to the different data centers.
And I see that's quite nice. You've also just, you can obviously use your guys' dashboard to create key pairs, and then I just kind of drag and drop the key pairs where I want them based on which data center. That's a nice little feature, actually. Yeah. That's not something I've seen. That's cool.
Just a quick look at the creation port here. You just type in the name, you switch, you choose which data centers, and you just paste in the key itself and click create.
Excellent. Cool. Back to the create server shade. Yep.
Yeah. So next step is well, of course you have the flavor as well, and in this case it's 1 core 1 gigabyte ROM flavor. I don't add the disk size, but you can of course add the disk size as well.
Yeah, a lot of features you can add into Shade once you really get into it. In fact, to let the users know, obviously, I always default type into Google OpenStack Shade and usage, because in usage they list all the different commands you can use against data centers. Exactly. Of course, it'll depend on your data center which commands are supported. But I'm very impressed actually with CityCloud. I know you guys have been quite vigilant in keeping your API up to date, so congratulations on that.
Oh yeah, we're running Liberty release in all of our data centers except Frankfurt, which is actually running Mitaka.
Ah, cool. Excellent. Yeah, yep. Great. Okay, so we've got our key pair. We've now got a server. So what have you done with cloud.create_server? Talk me through that code.
Yeah, well, this is the part where we create the server. So basically, we have the name here, which is fetched from up there. You have the image, which is, of course, fetched from up here, flavor, and you add the weight for it to build, and you will get the auto IP to get your floating IP set on your computer, and you will, of course, get the key pair.
And this is nice because these are all features built into Shade, because obviously servers take time to build, so code needs to be told to wait. And yeah, just the other bits as well. Obviously, people can read about it on the Shade documentation. Okay, so we've got our command and our response. What have you put in there?
Next port is just to basically confirm that the server's up and running, and you could access it. In this case, via SSH. I've added some proof of life, if you want to call it that, printing the public or floating IP address, external IP, and when the response is and then adding a ping to it. Adding a ping to it from that IP up here, and just basically, if it returns the response 0, it says it's up and running.
Excellent. Nice little unit test. Got to put in the unit test.
Exactly. I mean, the getting a server up and running isn't the hard part. Getting it to work is more of a struggle if you do something wrong and you don't know what.
Absolutely. Okay, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Let's switch back here. There we go. And there we go. We will basically run the same command, but we will switch file name and press enter. And then we have to wait the life of a IT technician.
Yes, waiting. The new compiling. There's an XKCD cartoon where it's developers fighting with swords, and the manager asks, "What are they doing?" They say, "We're compiling." Well, I feel like in the new age, it's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" "Oh, we're waiting for servers to spawn." That's the new excuse.
Yeah, I guess you can add I guess you can add a couple of stuff to make it more fun. I know I had a couple of colleagues, they added a train going by.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So some ASCII art to throw in there. Absolutely. Oh, looks like we've got something. What do we have?
Well, this basically says it's up. If you remember, we had the server public before, I think it was, which basically shows us the floating IP up here. And then we have our standard ping test, and I added the -C flag to it just to keep it down to four counts, to just get some bearing of it's up and running. And in the end, we have our print that it is up and running. So basically what we could do right now is just connect to the server.
Fantastic. Cool. So we've got it. We've actually got something working. We know it exists online. You've pinged it. It's got an IP, a public IP. What else do you want to show us, Peter, if anything?
Well, this is actually as far as I've gotten so far.
Excellent. Well, and as you said, we wanted to do the basics, and this is a great start, of course, as well. Any other kind of high-level comments? One of the conversations I think that is worth going back to is just some of the cool features that CityCloud has as a data center. You know, no data center is created alike. You know, each data center has different customers, therefore it buys different infrastructure and implements different software over that infrastructure. In terms of CityCloud, what are some of the key features you guys need to provide your cloud to make sure that it really works well for your customers?
Well, we wanna make this easy accessible, easy to use, and easy to understand how to use. That is basically what we want to communicate out to our customers, that no matter your technical background, you should basically be able to be a customer using CityCloud and creating or setting up whatever you want or like.
I think that really comes through with how much effort you guys have put into your dashboard. You know, it's really simple there. I love that you guys are reaching out, obviously, and providing multiple APIs so that your users, in terms of application developers, can start to use it. So you know, you're to be commended, really, is one of the things. There's a very good reason why I've contacted you and started working with you guys, is because you're an OpenStack data center that, you know, really tries to reach out to its community, but at the same time, I think you're doing great stuff by actually being able to support enterprise customers from banks, web developers, application developers, and all the companies in between. So good job, and hopefully I think we're going to try to do another one of these at some stage, aren't we? We're going to try to look at some more advanced features of Shade with CityCloud.
Yeah, we are going to try and do that. Yeah,
which is fun. And Peter, thanks again. It's brilliant to see somebody who's been a sysadmin kind of make their way over and play on the edge of the interface between, you know, what sysadmin do and what application developers do. So well done. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. All right. We'll catch you later. Cheers.
Bye-bye.